You know, some stories sound like they're straight out of a sci-fi movie. But this one is real. It's a medical mystery that happened in, well, about the most remote place you can possibly imagine, space.
So, what does happen? I mean, really, this isn't just some thought experiment. This is exactly what NASA had to deal with when one of their most experienced astronauts, Mike Fink, suddenly got sick on the International Space Station. And it kicked off an investigation that, honestly, is still going on.
All right, let's dive into it. How did this whole thing start? Well, it wasn't some big explosion or alarm. Nope. It started during a totally normal, routine evening. An evening that was about to get very, very strange.
Okay, so picture this. It's January 7th, 2026. You're on the ISS. Astronaut Mike Fink has just wrapped up his prep for a big spacewalk the next day. He's kicking back, sitting down to dinner with the crew, and then, just like that, with zero warning, something goes horribly wrong.
And don't just take my word for it. Finka himself said it was completely out of the blue. He even described it as being like a very, very fast lightning bolt. I mean, think about that. 1 second, you're fine. The next, everything has changed.
So, what actually happened to him? Well, for about 20 minutes, a really long 20 minutes, I'm sure, he just couldn't speak. At all. And this is the weird part. He wasn't in any pain. He wasn't choking. But his crewmates, they knew. They saw the distress on his face, and they knew this was serious. The response was incredible, a real all-hands-on-deck moment. The entire 6-person crew was right there with him in a heartbeat. Now, to really get why this was such a huge shock, you've got to understand who Mike Fink is. We're not talking about a first-timer here. This is a seasoned pro, a 4-time space flyer. Just look at this number, 549. That's how many days he spent in space. That's over a year and a half of his life in orbit. This guy knows the space environment inside and out, better than almost anybody on the planet.
And he's not just experienced. He was 59 at the time, a retired Air Force colonel in fantastic shape. He was already 5.5 months into this particular mission. Everyone considered him super healthy, which of course just makes this whole thing even more of a head-scratcher.
So, this incident, it forced NASA's hand. They had to do something they had never done before in the history of the space station, order a medical evacuation.
And they moved fast. I mean, really fast. The incident happens on the 7th. By the 8th, his spacewalk is off the table. And just a week after that, on the 15th, he and the whole crew are splashing down in a SpaceX capsule. They came home more than a month early. That alone tells you just how seriously NASA was taking this.
Okay, so they're back on Earth, problem solved, right? Well, not exactly. Getting home safely wasn't the end of the story. In a lot of ways, it was just the beginning of the real mystery. Because once the doctors on the ground got to work, things got even weirder. They were able to rule out the obvious stuff pretty quickly. It wasn't a heart attack, it wasn't choking. But what was it? Honestly, almost everything else is still a possibility. And that includes a really scary one, that this could be some kind of unknown side effect of living in space long term. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, but what are the specifics? What are the theories? And that's a fair question. The thing is, NASA keeps astronaut medical records completely confidential, and for a really good reason. They need astronauts to feel 100% safe reporting anything, no matter how small, without worrying about their privacy. It's a huge part of keeping everyone safe up there. So, while this is a personal story for Mike Fink, it's become way, way bigger than that. This single incident is now a critical piece of the puzzle for the entire future of humans in space. You can imagine when Fink got back, he felt like he'd let the team down by cutting the mission short. But his colleagues at NASA told him something really important. They said, "This wasn't you, this was space. You didn't let anybody down." And that's such a powerful way to look at it. This isn't about one person's health. It's about the fundamental challenge of the space environment itself. So why is this one event so important? Well, for one, it's a huge wake-up call about how much we still don't know about the human body in space. It also gave NASA's emergency plans a real-world test like never before. And everything they're learning from this is going to be absolutely crucial as they plan for those long-haul trips to the moon and eventually to Mars. The good news is Mike Fink is doing fine now, and he wants to fly again. But his case is still officially an unsolved mystery. So as we get serious about sending people to Mars, this story is a pretty stark reminder of what's at stake.
how do we solve these incredibly complex medical puzzles when we're millions of miles from home? Because figuring this out isn't just for science, it's about survival.